Hello again, friends. Welcome back to the www.plaidavenger.com, where we're in part 2 trying to figure out why Haiti sucks. Part 1 was all about the bloody birth of the nation and the problematic situation it found itself in at its inception. This plaidcast is going to deal with problems with the peoples of Haiti. That's internal problems amongst themselves, which has caused a lot of chaos, consternation, problems, and violence for the last 200 years. This is a country, it's only 206 years old, right? It's had 32 coups, that is violent overthrows of the government. This is a place that is defined by violence politically, and this is based on violence and problems between two different distinct classes or groups of folks within Haiti. And it also applies to the wider region because there are two different distinct groups of folks within Haiti. It's very, very unique. And this uniqueness of Haitian folks, the majority of Haitian folks, is quite unique and distinct to the entire Caribbean nation and indeed the Americas. And I'm going to go ahead and be not politically correct here, okay? I got to tell you like it is so you understand why this is a plagued nation in today's world. And that is that Haiti is the blackest state in the Americas. I know it sounds terrible and racist, but it's not. But racially, ethnically, and culturally speaking, Haiti is the most black African state in the Caribbean and the Americas as a whole. How did it get to be that way? Because Haitians are quite distinct from all the surrounding countries and the Americas as a whole. How did they get to be that way? And how has that caused them troubles within their society, but also in the wider world? Let's get to it and do it. Now, first off, how is it that they are the blackest state in the Caribbean? As we talked about in part 1, this country started as a French colony. Well, Spanish took it over initially, then the French buccaneers started to come in the 1600s, and by 1660, the French West India Company had taken over and made this a colony. Now, it became quickly in the next 100 years the crown jewel of colonial holdings for the French because it was making so much money off coffee and sugar. And how did the Frenchies pull this off? The slave trade, of course. All of this plantation-style agriculture was based on free labor of African slaves. And what's quite distinct, quite unique about Haiti, and you got to know this to get what's going on today. Unlike all the other slave-holding colonies in the New World, Haiti became the most African because of its circumstances. What I'm referring to is the French were brutal. Haiti may have been, or probably was, the absolute shittiest place a slave could have gone in all the Americas. And what I mean by that is they pushed this colony hard. They worked people harder, 20 hours a day, under the brutal Caribbean sun, cutting sugar cane. And the mortality rates of the slaves imported from Africa to Haiti rivaled all other places in the America. Let me repeat. Haiti killed more African peoples than any other colony in the New World. And because of this exceptionally high mortality rate, I mean, people only lasted a year or 2 years. So the French would import these folks in from Africa, work them as hard as they could for a year, and they drop dead. And because of that scenario, they had to get more. To base this slave economy up, you have to keep having your slave labor there. Most other colonies would import slaves, and then the slaves would have children, and they would be slaves, and then the slaves' children would have children, and they'd be more slaves. And eventually you have kind of a process of acculturation where, yes, they're slaves and they're from Africa, but they kind of adopt or become more like the culture that they're in. Such was not the case in Haiti. Because of the mortality rates, there wasn't time to acculturate the people. They died too fast. So this nonstop process every year of importing 10,000, 20,000 more new slaves right off the boat into Haiti meant that Haiti becomes or stays very African. Ethnically, racially, it stays very black. And because its people are nonstop replenishment of African culture, which is why you have very unique African things in Haiti like voodoo, which is a kind of Catholicism blended with African religious traditions. Only in Haiti do you have this very outpouring, very vocal, and very open African culture. It's right in your face. You can see it in the way people look, but also the culture and the practices and things they do. That's why Haiti's quite distinct. Now, on the eve of its revolution, by 1791, there may have been 500,000, that's 500,000. There may have been 500,000 black African slaves who had only been in the place 2 to 3 or 4 years tops, who were controlled by 30,000 French whiteys. Let me give you those numbers again. Maybe 500,000, actually maybe more like 800,000. So somewhere between 500,000 and 800,000 black Africans in Haiti under the lash of only 30,000 French whiteys and some mulatto folks. What? Mulatto folks. Here's the first big division you need to understand. Mulattoes are, for lack of a better description, mixed blood. So you might have a white Frenchy dude who has a black African concubine in Haiti, and they have a child, and that child would be perhaps lighter skinned than its mother, and this is a mixed blood mulatto group. Okay? Now, the French whiteys didn't adopt these children as their own. However, they did give them certain rights and privileges. A lot of these kids, when they grew up, became known as free men of color. They weren't exactly free, but they weren't exactly slaves. And the Frenchies, for their part, that had these kids, would educate them, might even give them some land. And indeed, over the 100-year span we're talking about here, a lot of these mulattoes kind of became a second class of French citizens. They weren't slaves. Some of them became landholders. Some of them became slave owners. So they were incorporated into the upper elite, if that makes sense. They, not fully, but kind of. Here's why I'm telling you this story in detail. Because during the Haitian Revolution, a lot of black African Haitians hated those mulattoes as much as the whiteys. They saw them as part of the problem. And so there was conflict already from the inception of this country between the mulatto group and the black African group. The black African group, by the way, constitutes 95% of Haiti, then and now. So we're talking about a very small elite of French whitey / mulatto group. Now, at the end of the revolution, by 1804, when Haiti's free, it's bloody birth, they slaughtered all the rest of the French whiteys who were there, or the French whiteys hauled ass to, Baton Rouge. And the mulattoes, a lot of them did switch sides during this campaign, during the revolution. So there was a small percentage of mulattoes left. And as might be expected, the mulatto group, of which a lot of the top generals in the Haitian military were in, they're educated. They know how business works. Some of them were landholders, some of them were slaveholders. Very naturally, they kind of become the leaders of this society. But they're only like 4 or 5% of the total population. So animosity already at its inception between these two classes of people, this mulatto upper class and the masses of black African, ethnically black African folks. Does that make sense? Now, why would I have told you this long story? Because pretty much violence and competition between these two groups has defined Haiti for the last 200 years. And I do mean violence, because often political and economic competition between the groups only is resolved with violence, with one conquering or beating the other. And even when one group gets in power and tries to lead Haiti, the other group has typically worked to undermine them. Meaning, if the whiter, lighter-skinned mulattoes gain the presidency or in control, the masses of black African Haitians get agitated eventually, get pissed off, and work against the government, and usually it would result in a violent coup or bloody overthrow. The inverse is, when a ethnically black African Haitian gets into power, the whiter, lighter-skinned mulattoes, who were the business leaders and the military leaders, would often work and conspire secretly against the leadership to get them thrown out of power. This is the history of Haiti for 200 years. Violence is seemingly the only solution between these two groups. It is a major problem. It was since the start of the country. It still is today. And this friction between ethnic groups is actually bigger than just the Haitian picture itself. It can be applied to all of Hispaniola and probably to the wider Caribbean and Latin American region as a whole. What am I talking about?